My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. Happy New Year, and welcome to 2025 of Third Eye Sight. I hope that if you celebrated the holidays, that you enjoyed them and that you had a really lovely start to your new year. And I hope that this new year is bringing you a lot of insight, open-mindedness, just openness in general, and comfort. Since the start of the new year, there's been a lot of news, disasters around the world happening, natural disasters. So my heart goes out to those of you who are in California, and I hope that you're finding the security, the safety that you need. And I know a couple of people who've had to evacuate, and I cannot even imagine. I can't imagine what it's like to be going through that. So my heart goes out to you, and I wish for you a lot of support where you are, and you find the support that you need. 2025, it's been an interesting start to the year. And I first want to say that, I had a hard talk with myself during the holiday season. And I realized that I want to approach things with a different perspective, approach the podcast, approach social media, approach the work that I do as a psychic medium in a new way. So to start with the podcast, I want the content that I publish on my podcast, the things that I talk about regarding myself and my life experiences and life updates, I want them to always circle back to my mission of inspiring you and knowing that you have the power to be a medium, to be psychic, to be intuitive, to inspire you in knowing that there's more to life than just what meets the five senses. And I think sometimes I go on tangents, or I start to complain. And I think that's my opinion, that I'm complaining. I think there is value in me talking about a life struggle. But I think only if it humanizes mediumship or humanizes the career of being a psychic medium. But I think there's a limit. I keep saying I think. There is a limit. And so, what I want you to come away from this episode feeling and thinking, the way I am thinking so much, as you can already hear, I want 2025 to be a year for you in which you learn what you will accept and not accept in your life. From other people, from situations. When you find your own peace, and you look for your own peace, because there's a lot to be not peaceful feeling about right now. And I've learned that I work best as a psychic medium when I feel like I'm trying my best to live my life seeking peace for myself, seeking bliss. And that's not always going to be the case. There are days that will stink and I have a psychic reading to do. There are days that will be stressful and I have to do a mediumship reading at night. But that's different. The day-to-day things that happen, I set that aside and separately from my overall attitude. Attitude is different from the way my attitude can dictate how I respond to certain situations and things that just come up in life. And those moments matter. But what really sparks those reactions is my overall attitude and my approach to things in life. And December was a huge month for me realizing that. Huge. And I'm going to talk about it. So I'm going to reiterate before I get into the details of things, I want you to know that you can start seeking peace for yourself. This doesn't mean you have to cut that person out of your life. This doesn't mean that you have to stop doing that thing that makes you feel good. It's about, it's really asking yourself, well, why am I in this relationship with this person? Why am I this person's friend? What does this friendship mean to us? Why am I doing that thing that makes me feel good? And if your answers tie somehow to fear, something that's coming from fear, or I want to be in a relationship with this person because they help me feel good enough, or I'm afraid that I won't have better than this, or I'm doing this thing that makes me feel good because it helps me feel pretty, or it helps me forget about something that really troubles me. I think without judging yourself, it's good to ask these questions, because then you get to the root of, and I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, so please see a psychologist or a therapist if you need to, because I see a therapist and it has changed my life and helped me realize what I'm about to say. When we ask ourselves these questions, we understand the real intention behind why we do, or the real intention behind what we do, why we do what we do. And this is where I had some realizations in the past month. So in December, I had my social content already filmed for January and some of February. And I had it all scheduled for this Monday, this Wednesday, this Friday, etc., etc. A list of episodes planned and ready to go. And this detail is going to matter later in my story. December had some big news items. I mean, when is there not a big news item, right? The world is the world. The country is the country. And I was noticing how people, and I'm not going to go into details of what the news items were, because I don't think that's very important. It's actually really not important at all. I was noticing the reactions that people I followed and people that I was connected with on social media, and they were connected with me, how people were responding to the news. And I got so disappointed. I faced a lot of disappointment, and I got angry, I got upset, and I wanted to totally disassociate, and that's not a good thing. That's not for me. That's not something that, when I've tried doing that before, it's not a good thing, not a healthy thing. But at the same time, I was thinking, but this has to do with my values and what I consider to be moral. And I was so upset, and I was really troubled, because I thought some of these people are, I was going to say light workers. I'll say self-proclaimed light workers. And some of them, they really are light workers. Some of them are psychic mediums, and some are not. And it was just troubling me. And I was so disappointed. And I took a break from social media. I started taking a break from social media. I was so upset that I didn't want to see the news pop up on my phone, on my Instagram, Facebook, etc. I didn't want to see these people's reactions pop up on my phone through comments or through Instagram stories. I wanted to not see any of it. So I started going off social media, which is when I announced that on Instagram that I was going off social media for a bit until the new year. And I gave myself a few days to a week to think. This was maybe right before the Christmas holiday or during the Christmas holiday. I forget the timing. I think this was as I was going to my family's place in Delaware to officiate my brother's wedding. That's when it was, towards the beginning of December. Had this time to think, a few days to a week, and I realized, or I asked myself, why am I so disappointed in people's reactions? Why am I incensed by these reactions? And I had a therapy session, talked about it there, and I realized that two things were happening. One, like everyone else, I have values. And as the older I'm getting, the more I'm learning that I really, really want to stick to my values. And anything that violates those values, I either question it or I don't associate with it. Number two, I'm here feeling so disappointed. What part of me is so disappointed? It's my ego. The part of me that wants to change people's minds, the part of me that wants to tell somebody they're wrong and this is why, which doesn't serve anybody. I think there's a time and place to tell someone when they're wrong, when they are harming somebody else, when they have harmed somebody else. This was tricky because these people were not really doing anything harmful, but they were talking about something that I thought was troubling. And so here I'm sitting with these two ideas. My ego is inflamed. And on the other hand, I have my values and I shouldn't apologize for them. So I made the decision to, number one, stop following news accounts on social media, specifically Instagram, which is where I follow a lot of news outlets. I listen, and this is not me saying, because I've heard some psychic mediums share that they prefer not to watch or hear any news. Well, I personally like to stay informed because I pay bills, I have an income, and I pay taxes, and I want to know how the news is going to affect my livelihood and my rights. And so I listen to the news almost every morning, NPR Up First podcast. I feel like I get the news that I need to hear for the day, for the most part. And if there's any other news that comes up, I may look it up just to see later in the day if there's something that's popped up. But other than that, I'm really trying to not consume too much news content outside of the ways I like to get my news, like NPR Up First. I don't need it to pop up on my phone, on my Instagram, at just any time when I open my phone. I personally don't want that. It was starting to stress me out. And I also started disconnecting from people who were exhibiting these reactions that I saw. Now, something that I did that I'm pretty proud of, I have to say, and I'm trying to be humble, but also I just think I don't know, it's not something people think of often, because I'm here thinking, okay, some of these are psychics I've met through being a psychic, and maybe there's like a business potential or something there. And some of these are just friends, or not even friends. Maybe one or two were friends, but not close friends, and the rest were acquaintances. And I just decided to unfollow them, but I also had their accounts unfollow my account, because I am not going to be that person that's like, well, you conflict with my values, so I'm unfollowing you, but I still want you as a follower so I can have 1,500 followers. Absolutely not. I told myself, if you want to do this for yourself, to not have the energy, it sounds so woo-woo, not have that energy around you on social media, you got to unfollow them and have them unfollow you. And there's a way to do that on Instagram where you can remove a follower. So I did that. And I freaked out. I thought, what are they going to think? What are they going to think of me? What are they going to think of me? They're going to say that I'm this and that, and I'm despicable and this and that, all these things. How could you unfollow me? And how could you make me unfollow you? All the above, right? And then I had another realization. Well, I could count on two hands, maybe three if I had a third one, the amount of people in my life that I consider people who are close family and close friends, people that I think to call and to text, ask how they're doing, who do the same with me. These people were not those people. And I faced the fear, my fear of being talked about in a negative way, my fear of being disliked. And then I was off social media for the most part. For like 95% of every day, I was off social media completely. That was beginning of December to mid-December, all the way up to I think just after Christmas. I would log on to social media maybe once every 3 or 4 days, just to see if I got any messages. And some of you may have gotten messages from me during the holidays if you asked me a question about my readings, et cetera, et cetera. But other than that, I didn't check social media. And I actually deleted the social apps off of my phone completely. People, it was one of the best decisions I have ever made in my entire life. I was nervous at first because I like social media. It's addicting. And there would be times when I would stop to take a selfie, but then I would remember, wait, I'm not going to upload this anywhere today, so why am I taking the selfie? And then I wouldn't take it. Or there were things I wanted to take a picture of to show that, oh, I'm here. Look, I'm here. And then I would remember I have nowhere to post this to. Then I wouldn't take it. And I realized how many times I was taking photos knowing that people were going to see it. Not because I wanted them as memory, for memory keeping. Before y'all judge me who follow me on Instagram, yes, I know I take a lot of selfies. I do. And that's going to change. It's totally, oh my gosh, the last month totally changed how I'm going to use social media. And now when I'm using the social apps, I log out of my accounts every time I'm finished using the app. And when I go back in, I log back in. It may sound wacky to you, it may sound annoying, but that's how badly I was addicted to social media apps. I need to do that extra step, and it's working. I check Instagram 2 or 3 times a day at the most for like 10 minutes max, I think. I need to check my phone screen time, but I'm telling you, there have been days in the past where I've used Instagram for 2 hours total in a day, and now it's to 1 hour, just under an hour. So I'm working on it. But logging out of my social accounts has really helped. And it's also changing. This is what's going to change on my social media moving forward. I still want to make fun videos. I still want to talk about cool things, but you're not going to see anymore the production effort. You're not going to see cute captions from CapCut. Not sponsored, not criticizing CapCut. CapCut's great, but you're not going to see that anymore. It's not going to be as fancy. Well, was it ever fancy? I don't know. I don't know if it was fancy, but I thought my stuff looked pretty nice. I think it looked decent. And it's not going to look indecent. It's not going to look trashy either, but it's going to look just simpler. And I'm going to post when I want to. No more of this post 3 times a week consistently because my followers are on at 3 p.m. and that's when they're going to see it. I'm done with that. I am done looking for more. I'm done looking for more followers, more engagement. And a part of it is giving up. Some of you may know I got rid of my blue check mark on Instagram that I was paying for monthly because when I needed help with my account, they weren't helping me. So why am I paying if I'm paying you, I'm a paying customer, Instagram, Meta, and you're not helping me with my password? So there's that. And then my content used to do so much better 2 years ago, and I'm doing the same kind of thing. And I'm tired of trying. But I'm not sad about that. I'm not sad about giving up on it. I'm just going to do it when I want to and do it the way I want to. No more of this trying to get views. If I get views or go viral, that would be awesome. I would love that. But that's what I'm not here to do this work for. I'm not here just to get famous. If I am told at the end of my life that I changed one person's life completely because of this work, I would be incredibly moved by that. That's what matters to me. And it took me getting disappointed. It took my ego getting inflamed because of social media talk. It took all that upset and disappointment for me to realize that I'm going about some things the wrong way. On the one hand, I'm still having this fear of being disliked, and I want to be liked, get the views, have the followers, get the engagement. And God forbid people dislike me because of the way I feel about something or because my content isn't good enough. And on the other hand, keep using that metaphor or analogy, I don't know. The other hand, I I'm done trying to get more, more, and more because what I have now is not enough. I'm done thinking that way. And I kept saying a lot in my 2024 wrap up podcast episode, the last episode I did, and I think throughout the last year, a lot of the last year, I have everything I need. And there's so much privilege in that. There's so much luxury in that. And I'm not using luxury the way most people use the word luxury. I have food to eat. I have warm clothes in this crazy cold winter here in New York City. I have shelter over my head. I have a heater. I have a doggy who loves me and I love her, and I have food for her, and I have a little coat for her for winter. I have a computer. I have a full-time job, and I can do this psychic mediumship stuff as a passion job, as a passion side gig. That's a lot of luxury, in my opinion. I have a lot of privilege. And for me to think that what I have is not enough, I need more and more and more and more and more and more and more, I'm done with that. I'm okay. I would be singing a different tune if I was starving, if I needed food to put on the table, I needed money to pay my bills. And look, yeah, everyone needs money to pay their bills. I do too, but I am not in dire straits. So I know that I'm very lucky that I'm a psychic medium who has a full-time job to support me. That's the decision I've made. So I'm done needing more because I don't need more. And there's a lot of talk on social media. There's so many productivity experts, and there's a podcast I used to listen to. I won't name it because the guy does seem really cool, but it was all focused on productivity and waking up at a certain time every day. And that's, if you wake up at this, if I could paraphrase him, if I could summarize this podcast in a sentence, if you wake up at this time every day and set your life up to be productive, you will see success. You will feel achieved. You'll feel achievement, successful. What am I trying to say? And I used to listen to that podcast all the time until I realized I need to rest. And I have the privilege to be able to rest, and why not take advantage of it? People yearn for rest. And I think that on this planet, we have some systems in place that really restrict us from the right to rest. So I'm going to take my rest if I can. And when it comes to social media, I used to follow social media expertise accounts that would talk about this many hashtags and a comment, or maybe this one says, do it in a caption instead. And here are some trendy ways to start a video that you can hook people in with in the first 2 seconds. All the above. Think of all the strategies. I did classes. I signed up for webinars that I paid for. And some of them would say, well, you're just not doing it right. Don't be lazy. You don't have grit. You don't have ambition. Maybe they're right. I don't know. But I do know this. I feel really good. I feel really content. That was the word of 2024, content, for me. I feel okay not trying too hard on social media because now I'm going to get time back in my life like I did in December. Oh my gosh, I felt like, I'm not exaggerating, folks. I felt like I was a kid on summer vacation again. Like on winter break again. And I was working with my full-time job. I was working remotely from my parents' home during the holiday season. But I had some days off, and on those days, without being plugged into social media, I felt like I was in the early 2000s on winter vacation. It was great. Oh my gosh, it was so great. And I got bored. I got a little bored. But then I told myself, there is no reason for me to be bored. I have a book to read. I have some video games I can play. I could watch some TV, catch up on TV shows. I can go for a drive. No reason for me to be bored. I have a lot of things I can do. Just because I don't have my phone and I'm not plugged in, and I was feeling FOMO. I was feeling like I was missing out on the world, on people's lives, not being on social media. But I also felt so blissful. So yeah, I'm done chasing the more and more and more and more. Would I love to make more money? Absolutely. Would that make me happy? Momentarily, but not in the long term. I want to focus on the long term. I want to focus on what my life's purpose is. Now, that's enough about me. Let's talk about you, the listener. This is why I said at the beginning of the episode, why I said it's so important to ask yourself the questions and don't be judgmental with yourself. I have this issue being very judgmental with myself. I just said, let's not make it about me. Now I'm bringing it back to me. I have this issue. I'm very judgmental with myself. Like when I was afraid of being disliked after making those disconnections on social media, I was judging myself. I thought, who do you think you are? How dare you do that? I'm the only person telling myself that too. Don't be judgmental when you ask yourselves those questions. Why am I, this sounds so silly, but why am I taking this selfie? Am I taking it so that people can tell me I'm really cute? They could respond with a fire emoji. Why am I in this relationship? Am I in it because I'm afraid that I can't be in a better relationship? Which is a very sad thing to put yourself through. So many things we do out of fear, and so many things we could do out of love and self-empowerment. And this isn't about being selfish. I think it's easy to call somebody selfish when they focus on their own values a lot, when they use those values to dictate what relationships they want to be in. It doesn't make sense to me, but there are people who may feel that way, that I'm being selfish, that I'm being self-centered. Well, the way I see it is I try my best to be a good person. I try to be sweet and kind and understanding and empathetic, but I'm not here on this planet to be kumbaya, everybody's friend. If I was meant to be everybody's friend, that would be a very exhausting social life, and it's just not possible. And I'd rather have 2 best friends than have 25, 50 people like me people who I would never want to sit next to at a dinner. 50 of them liking me. I'd rather have the 2 best friends. Those are my values. What are your values? And what are you wanting to stick to in 2025? What are the boundaries you want to set? What are the loving connections you want to water more, to see them grow? This isn't just about setting boundaries of people in a way that restricts someone from crossing a line with you. This is also about watering those relationship plants that are going to grow for you, that are going to feel like a give and take, that feel like a loving connection where it's unconditional love. Where can you find that? And where can you not find? Where can you see that in your life and stick to that? Keep pursuing that. And back to mediumship, psychic mediumship. When we are being our most authentic selves, and I've shared this before too, I repeat myself a lot on this podcast. We are our most authentic selves, and we feel like our intention is to seek out bliss and peace, to seek love, to seek understanding and belonging in a way that not only you belonging to something else, but that something else belonging to you. What's that phrase? How can you keep something that wasn't yours to begin with? I don't know if that's the saying. But it's not just about you belonging to something. It's okay to feel like you're belonging to something. I think that's only naturally. It's human. It's natural. But that thing has to belong to you too. It has to want you too. Or rather, you have to want it too. Let's focus on that. And let's let the authenticity, the bliss, the peace be the intention. And I think with that overall approach that we have to life, I'm not going to swear by this because I'm still learning. I just had this aha moment a month ago. I think we become better intuitives. We listen to our gut better. Things come in more clearly because we are trusting ourselves more. How can Juan, the part of Juan that who hates being disliked, how can I trust that part of Juan? Because he's just walking around with me doing things to be liked, not because he has confidence in himself that he should just be himself, and whoever doesn't like him doesn't belong to him. And whoever does, let's let that plant grow. How can I trust the part of me that is afraid of being disliked and does things to be liked? I can't stand in my power as strongly. And I want you to understand, dear listeners, that this isn't an absolutist approach I'm taking. This is all a spectrum. It's not about you're confident, you're not confident. I don't think I'm the most confident person in the world. I am more confident than I used to be, but something can come up any day. It happened a couple weeks ago. Something popped up and I felt so insecure. I got so insecure. But then I had to bounce back because I wanted to bounce back. So just know this isn't a total I'm a new person and I love myself 100%. It's not about that. This is all a spectrum. Confidence is a spectrum. Self-esteem is a spectrum. And how we show up authentically is a spectrum. You better believe that if my life is at risk because I'm an openly gay man, I may act a little differently in front of people who want to hurt me because I'm a gay man. It's sad. I wish I could say to you that I will be openly gay wherever I go. I don't care what people think. I wish I could tell you that. But for me, if my life is at risk, I may change my approach. I don't think that makes me a bad person. That just makes me human. It lives on a spectrum. Things are rarely black and white. There's a lot of gray area when it comes to living this human life. And I think it's up to us to determine, because values can feel black and white to us, right? I think that's where it's a little different. But some values are gray area. I have some values that are black and white and some values that are a little gray area. Because I think it depends on the situation of things. It depends on the person and how close I am to them. It depends on factors. So you get to determine that. But are you doing that? Are you determining that for yourself from a place of love and honoring yourself and the people around you in a way that feels fair? I've said it before. Rule number 1, and my therapist taught me this. Rule number 1, be fair to yourself. Rule number 2, be fair to other people. Those two things happen together, but they're two different actions. But they have to always happen together. Intention. Now I'm going to share with you three really cool things that happened to me, and I think it was spirit. I didn't want to share this at the beginning because I didn't want this to be the focus or a focus. This is just a cherry on top. I am actually thinking of Haley B of Opening the Door podcast. She put up a prompt on Instagram asking people what they are looking for in their development in 2025. And I responded, and it was anonymous, but I'm okay sharing my response, that I want to bring a sense of wonderment back to my mediumship. Enchantment. Because I think this is normal. The more you do mediumship, the more it feels like, oh, la-di-da, cool, this is cool stuff, la-di-da. And it just becomes routine. It becomes... nothing really makes you go, whoa, anymore, like it did when I first started, when it was all so new to me, like, whoa, this is so cool, this is amazing, Spirit is saying this. And now it's like, I still find it amazing, and I still take it very seriously, especially when it's for someone who's grieving in a session. But, and I just bumped into my mic, hope you didn't hear that. But with that said, I want to bring back that childlike wonder. And that's about this, again, about my approach and my intention. I want to have that childlike wonder when it comes to my mediumship. So I submitted that to Opening the Door podcast on Instagram. And then It is the weekend before Christmas. I am watching TV, and I have a TV remote where I have to hold down the power button to turn off the TV and the TV receiver, the streaming, whatever, you know what I mean, the device. Not there's a television itself, the TV screen and the TV receiver, and to turn both of at the same time, I have to hold down the power button on the remote. So I'm watching a show on YouTube from my childhood, and they have all the episodes on YouTube. And I'm on my bed looking at the TV, and my eyes start to close. And so I as per usual, when my eyes start to close, I turn off the TV every night. So I hold down the power button, and it goes off. Sound off, TV screen off, everything off. I put the remote down, and I turn over away from my TV, and I snuggle up, put the covers over, hug my pillow, I sleep on my side, and close my eyes. Maybe 30 seconds to a minute later, I'm not sure, because I was feeling like I was almost getting into in between being awake and asleep. The show comes back on as if I never turned it off. And I just open my eyes, I turn, and the first thing I think is, oh, thank you, God. First thing I think. Because I knew immediately, my gut knew this is weird. I turned everything off. So then I got the remote and I turned it all off again. And that was that. Odd. 2 days later, maybe it was the next day or 2 days later, I have one of those vacuums that vacuum on their own, the little circle vacuums. And I'm embarrassed to say I hadn't used it in a while. And so I have to go on my phone, my smartphone, to go to the app for the vacuum and manually turn it on so that it comes out of its charging station and vacuums my place. In the past, I've had the vacuum on an automatic schedule, but it was totally disabled. There were no existing schedules, okay? So I had to manually turn it on, which is why I hadn't used it in a while. So the vacuum does its thing, but then it doesn't complete the job. So it goes back to the charging station, and I decide, okay, it didn't complete its job. It only did half of my apartment, so let me turn it on again. So I manually turn it on, and then it does the whole apartment, and it goes back to the charging station. Great. And the vacuum sits underneath my sofa, that's where the charging dock is, and it's now charging. I'm sitting on my sofa, watching TV. This is the daytime. My vacuum goes on again. And it comes out of its charging dock and starts vacuuming. I'm like, what? That's weird. And I'm sitting right on top of it because I'm sitting on my sofa and it is under my sofa. And again, I'm like, okay, is this Jesus? Is this Spirit? Is this God? Because hello, thank you so much. But I look at my phone because I want to check, did I turn this on in some way? And I look at my phone, open the app. The thing is moving according to the app, right? But I go to the schedule, like, okay, there's no automatic schedule. And my phone was locked and off. In order to turn this vacuum on, I would have to unlock my phone, open the app, turn it on, turn the vacuum on. I did not do any of that this last time around. So now I press the button on my phone to have it go back to the charging dock. Odd. Here's the third and final thing. Things happening in threes. I'm in my parents' house now. Now it's, I think it was a week ago from today. No, 2 weeks ago from today. I was in my parents' home, and when I'm at my parents' home, I'm living in their guest bedroom. And when I exit the guest bedroom, to my direct left is the bathroom, the guest bathroom. And because I am on one end of the house, before y'all start judging me for being nasty, I'm on one end of the house. My parents are on the other end. So I will, in the middle of the night, if I used to use the bathroom, I leave my guest room, turn directly left to the bathroom, and I use the restroom with the door open because there's no other rooms around me. And I'm at one end of the house, okay? Just want to disclaim that. So I am using the restroom. well, first of all, I had left my bedroom. It was like 2 a.m. and I left the bedroom, and I left the bedroom door ajar. Now that door does close on its own, but not all the way. It closes right to where the door meets the latch, but doesn't close. And I often leave the door that way anyways when I'm just exiting my room during the daytime. I just let it sit right there, very ajar, okay? And I'm using the restroom now, and I'm facing away from the door, and the bathroom door's open, and I just hear the bedroom door shut, like someone pushed it closed. And I thought, what the heck? And I'm here facing away from it. This is not ideal. This is not an ideal situation to be in this position. In this predicament while doors closing behind me. And I kind of slightly turn, and then I completely turn. This is awkward. And I washed my hands. I did wash my hands. And I went back into my room. I turned the knob to open the door. And I went to bed thinking two things. Like, half of me was thinking, okay, that was spirit. And the other half of me was thinking, okay, well, there's a little heating unit on in the room. There's cold air in the house, but I mean, the house is also heated. So, but maybe it's something with the air pressure, hot and cold, or maybe it's the vents from the heater coming from the vents in the ceiling, in addition to my heating unit that I had at my feet, my bed, next to my bed. Maybe something made the door close. I don't know. But the next morning, I almost forgot about this incident. And then I was talking to my mom at breakfast or something, sometime in the day. I told her, you know what happened? I almost forgot. And I told her. And we both thought, well, the door, I always leave that door almost closed, not all the way closed. And it never, ever, and this is true, it never, ever shuts on its own. Ever. Ever. But that moment it did. And I've been in this house many Christmases. Well, not many, 3 or 4 Christmases. And I've stayed in that bedroom every time. And even more than that, I've stayed during the Thanksgiving holiday, during some summers, some springs. I've never seen that door close on its own. It will close on its own if I'm leaving the room and I swing the door behind me without shutting it. Like I don't. It's like I let the door fly close. Like I pull it and I let it fly close. I don't know if that makes any sense. Then it will close on its own. That's because I'm using force. These are moments when I leave the door ajar. What does this all mean? The way I interpreted this, and you know that I love signs. I interpreted this as spirit, my team spirit, the higher power I believe in, telling me that as I'm going through this shift, this dark night of the soul, to be dramatic, as I'm going through this shadow moment in December of confronting my fears of being disliked, confronting my fears of not being popular enough on social media, as I'm confronting them and as I am taking steps towards overcoming them, I think my higher power was saying, you're going the right way. You're going to be okay. More than anything, more than validating whether I'm right or wrong in the way I'm doing things, the main thing I felt was, you're okay. You're supported. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And that rejuvenated my faith a little bit. And that helped bring a sense of wonder to things. Bring back a sense of wonder to things. I don't get signs as often as I used to, people. I talk about signs and I tell you to pray for signs and be open, and I still believe that. But I'm here to tell you, those 3 things happening in a month, one thing like that happening in a month, rarely happens to me. Rarely. I don't think I've ever The one other time I can think of is when my grandfather rang my doorbell, and there's an episode about that in the early episodes of the podcast. My grandfather rang my doorbell after he passed. That might be the last time. I can't think of another situation where spirit controlled, manipulated physical objects around me. That never, ever happens. Even on ghost hunts, or I hate the word ghost hunt, paranormal investigations. Even on those, I've never experienced, maybe once on a paranormal investigation, but I can't remember it. It rarely happens. So just know that just because I'm a medium doesn't mean that doors close all the time around me, that electronics go off on their own all the time around me. That this does not happen. These were like these were rare opportunities, but I felt thankful for them. And I would love more of them to happen. I told God, I'm like, God, I would love to experience. Actually, you know what I said? I said, can one of you guys show yourselves to me? Like my grandmothers, can you show yourself in full body to me now? And as much as I would love for that to happen, I do say it, but then I let it go. Because what they did for me in December, those 3 instances, were pretty huge. It takes a lot of energy to do that in the spirit world, from what I know. And I'm grateful for those experiences. So when you get those signs, whether they happen often or not often at all, when you get those signs, my personal recommendation, I rarely say you have to do this, you shouldn't do this, you should do this. Thank them. When something like that happens for you, immediately respond with gratitude. Because I think spirit's energy feeds off of gratitude and love and appreciation. Gratitude comes from a place of love. Thank your higher power, your loved one, your spirit team when you get those signs. Because they are signs, they're hellos from heaven. They are signs that you are going the way that you need to right now. Doesn't mean you're right, they're wrong. That's not how I took it. I felt like I was supported and that I am right in doing what I'm doing. It has less to do with other people. It has little to do with other people, actually. It's about what I'm doing for myself. And it has nothing to do with being the one that's right. That's what I'm trying to let go of. So to wrap up this podcast episode, this first episode of 2024, which is a super long one, thank you for bearing with me. Take a moment to ask yourself, with what intention do you do the job that you do? With what intention do you do that nice thing for your significant other? Don't overthink yourself into a rabbit hole. Just consider. Do that. Don't think about it. Just consider. What am I doing this for? Am I doing this from a place of love or because I'm afraid of something? And I think that's where you will get your insights. And that's where you will learn, and this is the tough part, learn what fears and obstacles you can overcome to live a more authentic life for yourself. So with that, let's start 2025. I'm excited for 2025 to be a year in which I am even more heart-centered than I've tried to be before, and more intentional, and not giving into, not as much, because I got to be savvy from a business standpoint. I do, but to what point? And that's what I need to think about. Not giving into the trends all the time. I do want to lastly share that I am taking a break from doing psychic mediumship readings, tarot card readings, and mediumship readings for the next couple months. And Y'all, I was almost gonna quit. I just dropped the bombshell. I was almost gonna stop doing readings. I was so in such a shadow moment in December. I was like, why am I gonna do readings? I was so upset. And then I started realizing I'm doing this. I need to think what I'm doing this for. What's my intention? And I am gonna continue doing readings, but I need this break because I decided to take this break when I was really in the throes of my upsetness. But I think I'm going to keep this break going because I am in a period of growth. And for me to be a clear channel, the clear channel that I want to be, I want to come to my readings from a place of more confidence, knowing who I am. Not that I don't now, but I want to keep growing. And right now I'm in a growing pain phase, and I want to let myself have the time to go through it. And then I'll be back to doing readings for the public. I'm a big proponent for taking breaks once in a while because maybe something in life has come up for you and you were not in the best place to serve another person in the way that you want to right now because you're not helping yourself right now. This is where we can be a little bit selfish. Of course, when push comes to shove and someone really needs your help and it's life or death, that's a different case, but we're not talking about that right now. Take the time you need for yourself to reset, to come back to yourself. Because the more at home we feel within ourselves, I think the better we can show up for other people to help them feel at home within themselves, to help them feel like they're being supported because we've built this solid foundation for ourselves. So I leave you with this first episode of 2025. I'm excited for 2025 and follow me. I know this is so contradictory to everything I just freaking said, but feel free to follow me on social media. You're just not going to see consistent content that looks all fancy, but do follow me and let's chat. I feel like such a flake right now. Oh, well, listen, I still got to plug myself somehow. I'll figure it out, y'all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact, and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.